Okay. Oh, so we'll get rid of, we'll just,
All right, we are live.
okay. All right.
Good morning to everyone, and welcome to the Zoom service of UUCC, the Unitarian Church of Canandaigua. UUC is a congregation that fosters personal and spiritual development through religious exploration in search of the truth, while celebrating diversity and affirming the worth and dignity of every person. We are glad that you are joining us this morning. I'm Pat Harris. I'm your worship associate for today, and our guest speaker today is Reverend Peggy Meeker. Reverend Meeker did her ministerial internship with us at UUCC. I'm going to say in the Dark Ages, but that's not right. From 207 to 2008. And then she moved to Brockport, where she served for 5 years at the Brockport Fellowship. And after that, she was a chaplain at Strong Hospital. And for a while, she was an interim minister at First Universalist. And now she is in her 3rd year of retirement. And I did ask her if she was enjoying her retirement, and the answer was yes. So, with that, we're glad to welcome her today to be with us. I have one announcement today, and that is next Sunday, October 3rd, will also be a Zoom service. That's all I have in my announcement, so we're very, very lucky that way. Now we're going to enter a space of worship. And we'll light our chalice. If you have a chalice, you might want to get it and light it with us as we say our shared chalice words. We gather this hour of people in faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and need. We light this chalice, sign, beacon of hope, sign of quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together.
Good morning. Very grateful to be your guest preacher this morning, and it's just good to be able to gather with you in this way and to create sacred time and sacred space. I'm going to try to remember to look down a little bit. As far as I can tell, you can't really see my eyes when I look straight at the screen. So we'll see if I can remember to do this. Today is the first Sunday of autumn. So we celebrate the turning of our world from late summer into fall. We celebrate the apples and ciders and donuts and pumpkins, the cooler temperatures, the leaves that are beginning to show their fall colors. And we celebrate to the paradox that at this time of harvest and beauty, we also see the completion of all that fullness. The dying back, gathering dark and cold, the undoing of it all, and the seeds for future life. Autumn is both abundance and relinquishing, and we know both in our own lives. Come, let us worship together. Our opening hymn is number 349, We Gather Together. for you the story of Indra's magnificent jeweled net, a traditional Buddhist and Hindu story, and a story that will take place in your imagination. Far, far away, in the home of the great god Indra, king of heaven, hangs a wondrous vast net, much like a spider's web, in how intricate and lovely it is. It stretches out into infinity in all directions. At each node or crossing point of the net hangs a single glittering jewel. Since the net itself is infinite, the jewels are infinite in number. The sparkling jewels hang there, suspended in and supported by the net, glittering like stars, dazzling to behold. Imagine what this magnificent jeweled net looks like spread across the vast expanse of space. Imagine that you can move in close to one jewel in the net. Look closely, and you will see that the polished surface of this jewel reflects all the other jewels in the net, just as two mirrors placed opposite each other, and you can try this later, will reflect something placed between them many times. You are a sparkling jewel in Indra's net, as is every person in this Zoom gathering and every person in the world. Every jewel is connected with every other jewel. Every person is connected with every other person in the universe. Each of us has our own place in the net, and we all reflect and influence each other. A change in one jewel or person produces a change, however slight, in every other. And whatever you do to one jewel affects the entire net as well as yourself. You cannot damage one strand of a spider web without hurting the whole web. And you can't damage one strand of the web that is the universe without hurting all the other strands in it, even if that injury is unknown. In the same way, every kind, loving act affects the entire net. A single helpful act will send out positive ripples across the infinite net, touching every jewel, every person there is. Try sending out smiles or kindnesses this week, knowing that they will go out to the whole universe.
Now it's time for us to join together with our joys and sorrows. We are a community that holds one another in our celebrations and in our pain. Please share your joys and sorrows in the chat box in Zoom. Know that wherever your heart is and whatever it's holding today, we are with you. for the joys and sorrows shared, and those that we hold in our hearts. Know that we are with you. We especially want to think about all of the remarks of people who are happy to be here with Peggy for our service, including one that was addressed to Aunt Peggy. Happy birthday, Nancy! Those are some great joys for us. We want to remember those and hold in our hearts those who need our support. We want to hold Billy and Sherry and Len and Lou in our hearts, but we also want to hold the people at the museum that was brutalized, where one of our people has a relative that works there, as they try to put their museum back together. Vandalism is always hard. And one last note is we are all thankful for this beautiful day. We hold these and all the biggest feelings of our heart in our hearts together. Now is the time for our offering. It's the time in our service when we join together in the spiritual practice of generosity. Our gifts support our church in its work, and its work does not stop when Zoom is done. It keeps on going. Our work is summarized in our covenant. The covenant for UUCC says, in service of the values that unite us, we will recognize the inherent value of each person. We will foster a community of compassion and caring for all. We will value our diverse opinions, and we will engage respectfully in all interactions. If you would like to give to this morning's offerings, you can give online at canandaiguauu.org/connect, or just go to the website and find a connect button, or you can physically mail a check to the church at our church address. In either case, note if your gift will go toward Sunday's offering or toward your pledge. If it's toward Sunday offering, know that we share 25% of it, of our monthly offering, with our service partner that's been designated for the month. The designated offering recipient chosen by Team 6 for the homecoming season is Keeping Our Promises, an organization with a mission to provide comprehensive resettlement assistance to endangered wartime allies who serve the U.S. interests in conflict and in war zones.
Let's share a time of centering, quieting down, settling into our chair, feeling how we are supported, both physically and by the joining of hearts. And let's share a brief time of silence to notice our breathing. To notice how we're feeling and whatever is coming into our thoughts or hearts. Now let's offer calmness and openness and peace to ourselves. And let's offer that calmness and openness and peace to each other. And to anyone for whom we are concerned. And to the world. May our thoughts and our prayers bring forth blessings.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. The blowing the wind, rise in the sea. In the hand giving life, the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
It's been the tradition of many Unitarian Universalist congregations for many years, though less so recently, for summer services to be different from the Sunday morning services of the rest of the year. Hence, we have homecoming or ingathering in September. Some of us may have been away, sometimes the minister is away, and now it's fall, and here we all are again, ready to start a new year. Usually, it's an exciting time with a good mix of the familiar and the new, and usually we are physically together able to exchange glances and smiles and hugs. I know that all of you who are a part of this congregation hoped you would be back in your building for homecoming. As Reverend Eileen wrote in the September newsletter, it was a dream so real you could taste it. But instead you had to take a step back and make different decisions. And you are not alone. Other things that start up anew in September are also different this year and maybe harder, maybe carrying a little more uncertainty, whether it's the next grade of school or heading off to college, or for me, starting violin lessons. So I got to thinking about how homecoming and beginning again feels this year. Beginning again can be hard sometimes, and beginning again in love, your theme for this month of homecoming, isn't necessarily any easier. I'm sure many of you are familiar with our responsive reading that contains the phrase, "We begin again in love." It's number 637 in our gray hymnal. It's called a litany of atonement, and it's often used around this time of year for services related to the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah, which culminates in Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement. Here's how that litany begins. For remaining silent when a single voice would have made a difference. And then the congregation responds, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. It continues, for each time that our fears have made us rigid and inaccessible. And again, the congregation responds, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. It is a beautiful reading and a beautiful intention to begin again in love. But how sometimes do we do that? And I'm not talking about making yourself do it. I'm talking about beginning again in love with grace and trust. The truth is, I was thinking about all this on a day that felt very discouraging to me. It wasn't just about COVID, though that's been huge. It was also about Hurricane Ida and floods and fires and Afghanistan, and then the news about the new abortion legislation that was passed in Texas. And then I watched a message from our UUA president, the Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, about beginning again. It's called an ingathering greeting, in case you want to Google it. Ingathering, she said, celebrates the value and the meaning of religious community, the ways that we are held by a wider circle of love and care. Remember that you are not alone. We belong to each other. And even when we are apart, we are held by a greater love. We are held by a religious community and by people that comfort us and care for us and remind us of our connection to the larger interdependent web of which we are all a part. Most of you will recognize those last words as a reference to our grand covenant, our principles and sources. We covenant to affirm and promote, and this is principle number 7, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. That web of all existence is everything. It's us, and it's all of nature, it's all of the universe, it's all that is sacred. Well, it wasn't until the next day that I fully realized what I had heard. We are held by a greater love. It's not just the love that I am able to conjure up, but the love of all of us. And it's not just the love of us in our religious community, but the love of everyone, everywhere. I know that the whole web of life contains both good and bad, natural disasters, human failings. But I also know that love is always stronger than anything else. So more than anything, it's a web of love. People are capable of incredible kindness. Maybe you know, maybe you've been on the receiving end of that. We begin again in love, yes, in a web of love, in an ocean of love. Once I started thinking about it, I found that love everywhere. It was in the passion of the Black Lives Matter activist whose words I was reading, and in the broader movement that she represents that has been taking hold in this country. It was in the driving energy of the Bach Brandenburg Concerto that was playing on the radio. It was even in my cat, who responds to petting by flinging her body over onto the bed in order to give herself fully to the moment. It's in all the people who have ever loved me. All the people who work in science or healthcare or art or carpentry or anything that makes this world a better place. And all the young people who are taking up their place in the world and bringing new vision. I can begin again in love because I am in love. I am immersed in it. It made me think of an old hymn, "O love that wilt not let me go." It's a hymn I loved as a child growing up in the Presbyterian church, and it used to be in some of our Unitarian Universalist hymns. Here are the words to the first verse. "O love that wilt not let me go, I rest my weary soul in thee. I give thee back the life I owe, that in thine ocean depths its flow may richer, fuller be." I was surprised when I opened up my old Presbyterian hymnal and read those words the other day because they seem more universal than I remembered, more mystical. There's a kind of self-emptying there. I give thee back the life I owe. That is both Christian and is also a part of many other spiritual traditions. As a youngster, I equated the love of this hymn with a traditional Orthodox God, a supernatural being that watched over me. As I grew older, I stopped believing in that God, but strangely, it seemed to me, I still felt held by something. More recently, I've come to understand God differently again, as a kind of presence or energy. And through all the changes in my thinking, I've continued to feel held. Of course, I don't feel that presence all the time. Sometimes I forget, but it's still always there, and it holds us all. I now think of it as the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. Do you feel loved? Consider this poem by the Reverend Lynn Unger. By what are you saved? And how? Saved like a bit of string, tucked away in a drawer? Saved like a child, rushed from a burning building, already singed and coughing smoke? Or are you salvaged, like a car part, the one good door when the rest is wrecked? Do you believe me when I say you are neither salvaged nor saved, but salved, anointed by gentle hands where you are most tender? Haven't you seen the way snow curls down like a fresh sheet, how it covers everything, makes everything beautiful without exception? Do you believe me when I say you are salved, anointed by gentle hands where you are most tender? Do we know that we are loved, that we are held by love? It's a challenge, I think, for many of us. Few of us have always been loved perfectly, and it's only human to want to be loved more or better. What if we could get better at noticing and feeling the love that is there? What if we could invite it in? I'm reminded of an aha moment that I had a few years back when I was working with a loving kindness meditation. The first line was, "May I be filled with loving kindness." I had always thought of that line as meaning something like, may I have so much love in me that it spills out onto other people. In other words, so that I can be kind. Suddenly one day, I heard it differently. May I really, truly be filled up with the feeling of loving kindness. May I feel that. And with that little change in thinking, I started being more open to the possibility. So In that same way, we may need to find ways to remind ourselves about the love that is all around us, the net. There is a Buddhist meditation called the Great Ball of Merit that I'd like to share with you. I learned it from a book by Joanna Macy and Chris Johnston called Active Hope: How to Face the Mess We're In Without Going Crazy. I'd like to read to you their presentation of that meditation. Relax and close your eyes. And I do invite you to do that. Relax and close your eyes. Relax into your breathing. Open your awareness to the other beings who share with you this planet time. In this gathering, in your neighborhood, in your town or city. Open to all those in this country and in other lands. Let your awareness encompass all beings living now in our world. Opening now to all time. Let your awareness encompass all beings who have ever lived, of all races and creeds and walks of life. Like successive mountain ranges, let the vast vistas of these fellow beings present themselves to your mind's eye. Now open to the knowledge that in each of these innumerable lives, some act of merit was performed. No matter how stunted or deprived the life, there was at the very least one gesture of kindness, one gift of love, one act of valor or self-sacrifice. From each of these beings, in their endless multitudes, arose actions of courage, kindness, teaching, healing. Let yourself see these immeasurable acts of merit. Now, imagine that you can sweep together these acts of merit, sweep them into a pile in front of you. Use your hands, pile them up, pile them into a heap, viewing it with gladness and gratitude. And now shape them into a ball. It is the great ball of merit. Hold it and weigh it in your hands. Rejoice in it, knowing that no act of goodness is ever lost. It remains ever and always a present resource, a means for the transformation of life. So now, with jubilation and thanksgiving, you turn that great ball, turn it over into the healing of our world. As we come out of this meditation, let that ball of merit go out into the world. It turns out that active hope, the title and subject of Macy and Johnston's book, is a practice, a spiritual practice, a habit of mind that needs to be exercised to become stronger. When we remind ourselves of the goodness and love and abundance that surrounds us, of that interdependent web, it becomes easier for us to draw strength from it. And of course, at the same time, this meditation reminds us that our own actions for good, no matter how small, add to that great abundance. We forget how connected and supported we all are. We are too much conditioned to be independent and self-sufficient, but we are better together and better interdependent. And that interdependence is what we remember and celebrate every September in homecoming. We are all connected, and therefore we can and do begin again in love. Amen.
Kindness kind friends all gather round, there's something I would say, that what brings us together here has blessed us all today. Love has made a circle that holds us all inside, where strangers are as family and loneliness can't hide. You must give yourself to love, if love is what you're after. Open up your heart to the tears and laughter. Give yourself to love. Give yourself to love. Love is born of fire, planted like a seed. Love can't give you everything, but it gives you what you need. Love comes when you're ready. Love comes when you're afraid. It'll be your greatest teacher, the best friend you have made. Is what you're after. Open up your heart to the tears and laughter, and give yourself to love. Give yourself to love. You must give yourself to love. Love is what you're after. Open up your heart to the tears and laughter, and give yourself to love. Give yourself to love. Our closing hymn today is number 317. We are not alone. Excuse me, we are not our own. We are not our own, earth forms us, human leaves on nature's growing vine, fruit of many generations, seeds of life divine. We are not alone, earth names us, past and present, peoples near and far, family and friends and strangers, show us who we are. Therefore let us make thanksgiving, and with justice willing and aware, give to earth and all things living us be a house of welcome, living stone upholding living stone, gladly showing all our neighbors we are not our own.
Be of good courage and at peace. Love all souls. And know that you are held by love and always beginning again in love. Amen.
And now we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. It's now time for me to